Midnight Travels. Fruits of Forced Labor. Written by C.J. Correos. Read by Sophie Call. Stars are bright in the dark paradise, but all will fade in time. Chapter 1. A Point Where It All Starts. A journey for atonement would require to leave Earth, yet it was delayed by her starship's refusal to function. Most would swallow their pride and replace it with a far more suitable ship. Not Mino. She clung to the Firebird for centuries, but the mountains of defects challenged the witch's stubbornness. The higher-ups had promised her starship would be repaired before Mino and her bodyguard completed their year of preparation. A week past the deadline, her Firebird still had the same issues: torn seatbelts, squeaky doors, and light bulbs flickering. In a way, those flaws were constant reminders of failed promises. Mino slammed her fist against the console. Each malfunction felt like another blow to the Firebird's reputation. There wasn't much to complain about left. They needed to go now. A last final checkup was the least she could do. She flicked switches and buttons in a blur. Mino shifted her strands of ginger hair and observed the console's monitor. Distorted images blinked on the screen when she finally could spot her bodyguard. She was down in the cargo sector, placing heavy crates on the deck. "Emmy, dear, are you done?" Mino spoke into the microphone. A thick English accent spilled from her lips. "It's past tea time and everyone wants us to launch already." Emmy glared back at the camera.
"If I had any help, I would have been done by now,"
she retorted, her Mandarin accent clear and unmistakable.
"But to answer your question, you're lucky. This was the last cargo."
"Good girl. Hurry back here. We'll be launching." Her monitor flickered wildly, then blacked out without a second passed. She attempted to re-establish contact and repeated, "Emmy? Hello? Emmy, please respond." Without a beat missed, bright red lights flashed and alarms sounded, bathing the control room. Terrific, she thought. Just terrific. Without hesitation, she attempted to initiate a full shutdown, but remembered the Firebird couldn't perform one once it entered the meltdown phase. Quickly, she pulled out her pocket watch phone and gave the orders in a quick cadence. "Emmy, head to the engine room and reset the core. I repeat, head to the engine room and reset the core."
"Told you the first time,"
Emmy shouted through the speakers. Her footsteps echoed through the hallway. Mino dove back to the console and used her hobby as her emerald eyes shined a vibrant green. Shadowy limbs sprung from the floor, and with a flick of her wrist, she commanded her servants to manipulate the ship's controls. Every switch, button, and lever from her shadow limbs had to be precisely puppeteered. With one wrong flick of a switch, her ship would go boom. The only way she could slow down the meltdown was to divert every power to the thrusters.
"I'm here."
Emmy's voice was heard through Mino's pocket watch.
"Resetting the core now."
The Firebird's alarms gradually faded as the cold fluorescent lights and the iconic low hum returned to occupy the room again. Mino sighed in relief. She was able to release her ability, and her shadow limbs dissipated. "Good job, Emmy."
"Thanks. I did all the dirty work."
"Hey, I helped slow the meltdown. If I didn't, you wouldn't have saved my ship."
"Whatever you say, Captain,"
Emmy replied, lazily waving her hand away as if her captain was in the room. Mino let out a frustrated sigh and snapped the pocket watch shut. She wished her close friends could join the year-long trip. Mino wouldn't be the only witch to tolerate the bodyguard's rude attitude. But the mission to retrieve an ancient artifact wasn't just any run-of-the-mill mission. The intellect's coffin was too personal and dangerous to get them involved. The door slid open as Emmy entered the control room. I'm going to be straight with you. Wouldn't it make more sense to get another ship than using this hunk of junk? Mino scoffed. None of those could ever hold a candle to my precious ship. She patted the Firebird's console as if it were her old pet cat. Plus, there's plenty of room to let out your disrespect for the Firebird. Emmy rolled her eyes and kicked a corner of the ship's walls, much to Mino's regret in her poor choice of words. As your obligatory crewmate, I might as well give you my feedback now before this rust bucket explodes on us. Mino slouched forward, resting her chin on her hand. I have a feeling you're doing this because you still don't like me. She raised an eyebrow. The bodyguard scoffed. It would make me feel better if my captain weren't a pompous witch. Frustrated exhale left her long, sharp nose. I see you're getting good at your humor. But let me remind you, I was the one who got you out of your sticky predicament. She twirled back to the ship's console and continued to work on the Firebird. It's either here or back in the cryostasis. A long pause as Emmy began to ponder the decision. Is it too late for that, or just sit down? A static crackle was heard from Firebird's console, followed by a robotized voice.
This is Control. Come in. Do you still request a new starship before launch? Over.
Mino pinched the bridge of her nose and fought the urge to roll her eyes. Night Phoenix here. For the billionth time, request denied. Over.
Acknowledged. You are clear for launch when ready. Over.
I read you. We will be launching in less than 2 minutes. Over and out. She pressed down on colorful buttons on the controls. The Firebird's engines roared, and Mino's hand hovered over a lever. Launching in 5, 4, 3, 2... Just step on it already. Emmy interrupted, her tone dripping with impatience. Mino ignored her and continued. 1. Lift off. With a swift motion, she thrusted the shift gear forward and pressed down on the pedals with her boot. The Firebird's engines blazed off, and both Mino and Emmy recoiled back into their seats as the ship blasted off. It lifted off from the open hatch submerged beneath the sea and left the underwater spaceport behind. The force of the launch was a stark reminder to the Night Witch. Gravity should never be underestimated. Say bye-bye to the Bermuda Triangle, she called back, but wasn't surprised by the lack of a response. Emmy simply gave a disgruntled, flat look. Now, I'm aware I'm not supposed to do this. Mino increased the Firebird's speed ignition. But it's been a few centuries since I've flown at warp speed. She piloted the Firebird, entering at a rapid rate through the orange skies, leaving sparkling trails behind. It exited the atmosphere and passed the Earth's moon within a blink of an eye. Then it passed Neptune in 5 minutes and left the solar system. There we go. We'll pass Tau Ceti in less than 30 minutes tops. Mino glanced back at her close bodyguard. Cool. I can start my break then. Emmy unbuckled the tattered seatbelts off of her and headed for the ship's mess hall. Don't get too comfortable. You're all I've got. Mino maneuvered her arms and began typing on the ship's console to gather coordinates. The monitor revealed a 3D map of the galaxies, showing the Firebird and the many planets where they're heading. Says here that Gaia will be our first pit stop, so we need to arrive there in one piece. She was interrupted when sparks flew out of the console and a subtle jolt was felt in the room. What now? A slight annoyance from Emmy's voice. Mino frantically answered back. Something I wished it wouldn't do. And immediately she returned to the Firebird's controls. It was all fruitless. Out the window, the ship went from soaring past stars in milliseconds to a gradual halt in the middle of nowhere. Well, that's just perfect. Why did we stop? Actually, how did we stop? Emmy asked in a frustrated tone. For God's sake, we're in space. A pause from the witch. She pondered with a low, steady sound. I suppose the emergency braking system was the cause of that. Mino groaned. This seems to prevent our ship from crashing into, well, anything. Emmy was left dumbfounded. What kind of idiot would design that? I don't know who, but it was implemented for a reason. Still, at least we enter impulse speed. Great. Guess it'll be a longer trip before we'll ever get to civilization, Emmy said. Oh, stop being a glumpot. Mino frustratedly continued to attempt to reactivate the ship's engine. It'll be like, I don't know, maybe a few hours till we arrive at a habitable planet. Then we can get some new parts and repair the old girl. Maybe a new ship would be nice. Emmy's flat tone remained. The Firebird's console caught the two's attention with a distressed sound. Wonderful. More things to worry about. Mino sarcastically muttered and observed the monitor. The screen popped up on a mini-map of the ship, and a red dot blinked off the tail. Something tipped the alarm down in the storage sector. Emmy, did you see if there were any rodents on board? Yes, 4 times. I see. Mino flicked a switch to reveal the room on the screen. She wasn't able to spot the intruder, only an opened box, the lid facing down on the deck. Good news, it's not any of those small critters, but it seems to be human to hide inside that box. Emmy stepped up to get a better look at the monitor. Either they're here to hijack the ship, or it's one of your dumb friends. My friends aren't dumb, Mino retorted, and was scoffed at by Emmy. She pressed the arrow keys to switch cameras to search for the interloper. Unfortunately, 25 of her security cameras were defunct, showing only a black screen. Only 4 remained operational. Bother. Really wished they'd at least fix the cameras. The Night Witch muttered and looked at her bodyguard. Emmy, your break will have to be postponed, and head to the storage room. Seriously? You want me to do it now? Emmy complained. Activate the autopilot and do it yourself. Mino could only release a very disappointed sigh. Well, with your muscular stature, you could easily intimidate them with the bulky arms you have. I'm flattered, though she was visibly not flattered. Just find them and throw them in the brig for all I care. I'm finishing the final adjustments since the ship is in moderate condition to be on autopilot. Fine. But once I'm done, I'm heading to the kitchen and you're on your own once my break starts. In a room bathed in harsh fluorescent lights, a young, dark-skinned woman navigated the old corridors. Wherever she was, she quickly concluded that it wasn't the Bermuda Triangle spaceport she infiltrated. Thoughts raced through her head to draw several conclusions, but due to the subtle tremor, made her dizzy. The strange aroma made her disoriented. An air conditioner sent chills down her spine, despite wearing a red vest and a pink sweater turtleneck. Her questions would soon be answered as she stumbled upon a medium-sized circular window. At first glance, it was pitch black outside, with several stars passing by. She might have easily chalked it up to being on some strange plane that flew across her home country, but before she could draw any conclusions, her eyes widened. Through the window, she could make out a country-sized red nebula, which spread across the cosmos. The young woman had seen them on her tablet when she was a kid, but seeing them in person had her jaw drop in disbelief. She finally did it. She left planet Earth. No, even better, she left the solar system. A dream she'd wanted to accomplish when she was in her early teens. The young woman didn't get far, as she backed into what seemed like another person. She spun around, seeing a towering, muscular Asian woman in her 20s, and darted a stern glare. The muscular woman's eyes were hidden in shadows. It gave them an intimidating look under the cold fluorescent lights. From what the young woman was able to discern, she bore scars that ran down her face and body. A blue jean vest with a kitty t-shirt. The kitty t-shirt would have amused the young woman, but she immediately deduced that she had encountered the ship's crewmate, which meant she was caught red-handed. "Oh, hello there," she greeted nervously. "You must be a..." The young woman wasn't able to finish her sentence. In less than 5 seconds, the Asian woman grabbed the collar of her vest and slammed her against the starship's wall. I'm sorry, I don't know what you're saying," the young woman began again, this time more hesitant and careful with her words. "I don't mean you no harm, if you know what I'm saying." The muscular woman raised an eyebrow like the young woman was crazy. She spoke again, this time with a perplexed tone. Alas, she still couldn't understand a single word. "Hey, what are you..." She felt her pockets being ransacked. The bodyguard pulled out a rectangular flip phone with a tiny antenna and a wallet. The bodyguard spoke again in her native language. "I'll be taking these." At least, that's what the young woman assumed she said. In a matter of seconds, the woman released her grip on the vest and yanked at her hair bun. She yelped in pain. Her scalp stung. "What are you doing? Ow, that hurts!" The muscular woman ignored her whines and dragged the young woman through the corridor.